It's Q&A time on the show today. Plus, we've got updates from the Outlaws, Silver Dollar Speedway, Terre Haute, the ASCS, and more. Let's go. It's Thursday, March 9th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is Dirt Tracker Daily. We'll start today off with the news and the updates. We'll get to the questions and answers segment after that. And stick around to the end. I want to do a little bit of a giveaway. So if you want to get in on that, stick around to the end of the show. We were worried about this one earlier in the week, but the World of Outlaws and Port Royal went ahead yesterday and canceled this weekend's two-day sprint car show. They are expecting possibly some winter weather, temps in the 30s and 40s, so no surprise here. The shows are canceled outright. There will be no makeup dates announced in the future. Fans who had tickets will get a credit on their account with the Outlaws, or they can request a refund from World Racing Group. Details on that will be available at worldofoutlaws.com. So no World of Outlaws this weekend and no debut of the new sprint car tire. We'll have to wait just a little bit longer. The Outlaws in Central Pennsylvania will try again next weekend with stops at Williams Grove and Lincoln slated for March 17th and 18th. One other race lost to weather this weekend is the Spring Nationals stop at North Georgia on Friday. That was announced last night, but the series is still planning on racing Saturday at 411 Motor Speedway in Tennessee. That one is $15,000 to win. I do have a little bit of streaming news for you today. At a point where we've seen several tracks fall off the Flow Racing schedule, especially kind of around California. One key facility will be back with the streamer in 2023. The Silver Dollar Speedway announced yesterday their full slate of races will return to Flow this season, including their first event of the year, the Mini Gold Cup, on March 17th and 18th. Silver Dollar isn't really a weekly track. They kind of do more of a special event schedule through the season. And events this year that you can watch on Flow include several races highlighted by 360 sprint cars. They've got the NARC 410s and a bunch more. This move, though, shouldn't be altogether surprising, as the track is run by Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, and Colby Copeland. Larson already has a deep relationship with Flow, and the High Limit Series is obviously tied in with them as well. You can see that full press release and Silver Dollar schedule over at silverdollarspeedway.com. It was still about a week to go until their first race weekend of the season. The ASCS sprint car field continues to fill out. We'd already talked about Matt Covington and Brandon Anderson returning to the National Tour, and I've got a few other names for you as well. Last season's Rookie of the Year in Jason Martin is back for another go, as is Kyler Johnson. Martin closed out 2022 with 5 straight top 10s, including a win in the finale at Creek County. I think he could be a sneaky guy to watch out for this season. Arkansas driver Brady Baker will chase Rookie of the Year with the ASCS, moving up from regular competition with the USCS. Not Brady Bacon, Brady Baker. Joining him as a rookie will also be Texas driver Christopher Townsend. He's moving up from Race Saver sprint cars. Townsend did make a handful of ASCS appearances in 2022, all of those coming at the I-30 Speedway. Dylan Westbrook didn't run the full slate a year ago, but he's back for the full go with the National Tour. He's another driver who can win, rack up a lot of top 10s, maybe a championship guy there as well. Landon Britt is also back for his second full-time run. He had 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s last season, including a second at I-30 in March. That was a race he also led 17 laps in. So in total, I got us at 8 full-timers right now that we know about, and I wouldn't be shocked to see that number continue to grow in the coming days, maybe across 10. If you want to keep up with the ASCS, Brian Holbert does a nice job on Twitter at ASCS Racing and on Facebook at American Sprint Car Series. If you're in Indiana, if you're a non-wing fan, there seems to be some movement and hope for the future of the Terre Haute action track. The facility has kind of been in limbo since things went sideways between Scott Ronk, Bernie Stubjen, and the Fair Board there last year. But in recent days, there have been rumblings of an impending deal with a new promoter. There's a new Facebook page that's popped up. We'll see what kind of schedule they may get put together and how long things last there. Terre Haute continues to be a place that seems snake-bitten by its circumstances. All right, let's get into some questions and answers. These are all from YouTube. I put a post up last night asking for submissions. First, Martin Racing asked, do you think TSR has found a good balance with the Ford engine to chase a championship this season? I'm not sure on this one. You know, Donnie won the Knoxville Nationals last year. He won the final 2 races of 2022 as well. But his worst, last year was his worst average finish in several years at 7.5. And if you kind of look at how he started, he was better the second Volusia weekend. This last weekend, he had some good runs, but started the season 14th and 20th at Dirt Car Nationals. Still seems like they're missing a little bit of something here. I don't know if it's chemistry. I don't know if it's still trying to rein in that Ford engine. And I feel like, too, with the Outlaws, there's, competition is just so tough right now. You've got Brad Sweet, you've got Dave Gravel, you've got Carson Macedo, you've got Sheldon Hodgshield. I mean, there's so many guys here that can win a ton of races. and compete for that championship. It's kind of a murderer's row right now. So I don't know if we're seeing Schatz kind of come back down to earth a little bit, and maybe they're missing a little bit something. I don't know if everybody else has kind of caught up to them, but I don't know that I would consider Donnie, a real title favorite this season. It just seems like those guys are missing a little bit of something right now. History Dude says, do you think the High Limit Series is viable for multiple years, or is it more likely to be a one-year thing to bring higher money midweek events? I think they're looking at it like it's a long-term deal, so I don't know why we would lose this thing after one season, barring it, was just some sort of epic failure. They're going to have quite a bit of backing, I think, from Flow Racing and from some of their other partners. So I would be surprised if this thing went away after just one season. I think going forward, I think a big thing is, are they going to be able to draw people to these events midweek? If they're having crowds that are showing out to these events, that will certainly be helpful. The streaming money is nice, but it's not the only thing. And, if you heard Brian Carter talk about, back towards the end of last year, he's like, he said, I'm not selling streaming, I'm selling full grandstands. And in this day and age, even with all of the streaming money out there, full grandstands is still very important. So if they can draw fans to these events, I think that'll be a big key going forward about how long this series remains viable. Jimmy Davenport wants to know if I have any news on who may be the new crew chief for Best Performance Motorsports, and do I think Madden will stay on the Woo Tour all season, World of Outlaws Tour all season? First, with Best Performance and Tyler Erb, there was a piece yesterday, I think, at Dirt on Dirt, where Kevin Kovac talked about the whole situation of Randall Edwards moving over to Garrett Smith's operation and leaving Tyler Erb in Best Performance. And it kind of sounds like maybe that team isn't going to go out and try to find another crew chief. Erb told Kevin Kovac in that one quote, he has plenty of good help, so he might just be sticking with the guys he has, and those guys may be working together to try to make that thing, go and not have a central figure crew chief like they had with Randall. As for Chris Madden, I think it's just going to depend on how well he does here. Madden is a guy who we've seen compete for the Outlaw Championship before. I think it's something that he wants to do. But the Outlaws, kind of full-time field is pretty deep this year. And if he gets off to a slow start, maybe isn't having the results he wants, I think it's possible that he could fall off. But I think with, his ability and what we've seen from him in the past, I think he can compete all season long. And I think this could be a year where he could go out and win that championship. Brandon Shepard still kind of trying to find his feet. So we'll see. I think it's probably maybe 50-50, 60-40 about whether or not he sticks around. Tyler Williams asks, what is a form of dirt racing that maybe you weren't as familiar with as sprint cars that you have grown to love over time? He says late models, big blocks, UMP mods, UFs, MTS. There's like this interesting thing, I think, out there about me that I'm just a sprint car person. And I know when I worked at World Racing Group with the World of Outlaws that we hosted the Open Red podcast, which was obviously very, heavily based on the World of Outlaws sprint car series. But I've been around all of the other types of cars for just as long and have spent just as much time working on those things. Like one of the big projects that I worked on at World Racing Group was the Dirt Car point system, which obviously is, very heavy with UMP modifieds and late models and some of the other divisions. So, I don't know that I'm surprised by anything. I spend a lot of time watching all sorts of racing and have for a really long time. I've certainly been around those other car types, and I've spent, time shooting photos of those other car types and working on the other things that World Racing Group has to offer. So I don't think I'm surprised by anything. I like a lot of different types of racing, and that includes dirt and things outside of dirt as well. So I'm a big fan of just good racing. It doesn't matter to me what the car type is if we can put on a good show, I'm probably going to be interested in it. Next question is from Mark. He thinks, do you think that Kyle Larson's ability to swap between types of race cars helps him to be a great race car driver? More and more race car drivers are swapping over to other types of motorsports, especially in the offseason, to give themselves race miles and to help keep up with the fitness required these days. He mentions American sprint car drivers going to Australia in the offseason, Australia drivers coming over here to kind of hone their skills. And I absolutely think that's maybe Kyle's main kind of superpower, is that ability to go from car type to car type and for there to just not be any sort of transition period. It doesn't seem like, he needs hot laps or a couple of heat races or whatever to kind of get himself comfortable back in the car again. He can go from the cup car to a sprint car to a midget to a late model, and it just doesn't seem to make a difference. And we just don't see that very often. And I think, too, something that gets talked about a little bit here and there, but it's difficult to practice being a race car driver, especially in this day and age of cost capping and the lack of testing. And so any opportunity these guys have to get in other race cars is going to be good for them. Like the only way to stay sharp is to continue doing things over and over and over again. And so when you can't just take the cup car out anytime you want. It's a way for these guys. I know, a lot of the things don't translate, but it's still, a way to keep the reflexes and the instincts sharp to go run other things. But yeah, I do think that's kind of Kyle's maybe main superpower. Carter wants to know what dirt track is really the world's fastest half mile. It seems like every half mile claims to be the fastest. Surely there's some form of a stat to prove which one can really claim that title. I don't know, what exactly is the world's fastest half mile, and obviously it's going to depend on car type. I will say, I looked around, I use the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series. Sprint cars are obviously going to be kind of the fastest form of dirt racing that there is in the country, and looking around at lap times and some of the track records and stuff, I figured Bristol would probably be the fastest one just with the banking there. But actually, if we go back and look at the track record for Volusia, 2011, Paul McMahon went around Volusia 12.569 seconds. Figures out to about a little over 143 miles an hour. That's the fastest lap I can find around a half-mile racetrack for the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series. So I think Volusia definitely has maybe a claim, or a very close claim to being the world's fastest half-mile. And finally, Goofball asks, how much would it cost to put my company sticker on your whiteboard there behind me? I'm certainly open to all possibilities. That's true of any sort of sponsorship. If you want to do ad reads on the show, if you want to be on the sticker board, if you want to put your logo up, do commercials, I'm certainly open to all sorts of possibilities. You can email me at info@dirttracker.com if you are curious about sponsoring this show. All right, thanks to everybody who submitted questions. We'll do this again soon. Keep an eye on the community post page on YouTube. I put stuff up there. That's usually the place where I'm going to probably post to get questions, just because that's kind of where the biggest audience I have is. So looks like we've got 6 shows on the streaming services today. Claper View has action from Murray Bridge. Flow Racing has Woodford Glen and Flow Racing 24/7. Speed Sport has practice from Port City and IMCA divisions from Heart at Texas. There's also Dirt Vision now. Just a side note on the streaming schedule for the shows down under, we try and put them up on the date before they're actually happening. Most of my audience is in the U.S., and a lot of these races in the U.S. are going to start in the overnight hours, so we're going to put them up on the day before. If you want to see the full daily streaming schedule with links to watch, head over to dirttracker.com/watch tonight. All right, we are really, really close to 15,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I think we're like at 14,800 right now. I want to do a giveaway to try to get us to 15,000, maybe by the weekend. So if you aren't subscribed, subscribe to the show. If you are subscribed to the show, awesome, thank you for that. Leave a comment below and just say t-shirt or something in the comment, and I will give away one of the Dirt Tracker t-shirts, the Sprint Car one or the late model one. I'll give you your choice. I have most sizes still available, so we'll try to accommodate you there as well. But if we get to 15,000 subscribers, say by Sunday, I will pick somebody in the comments below to give out one of those t-shirts to. Maybe we'll give out a couple of t-shirts, but make sure you're subscribed to the show. Help us get to 15,000. Hope you guys have a good Thursday out there. We'll be right back here tomorrow.